Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Geek Vibes Nation.
Hello, everyone out there with, your love and wants and needs to listen to wrestling news. I am, of course, the person that's going to help you through that. The doctor, not of thugonomics, but of going over wrestling stuff with my opinions and such, Dane Alves. And me and my co-host, Christopher Brother Ray Patton, have another amazing episode of Wrestling Geeks Alliance. And if you're a new listener, just buckle your seatbelt. You're going to be in for a bumpy ride, mainly because it's going to be about Raw and Smackdown. But in all seriousness, if you are a new listener, we have another show. We do 2 shows a week. One of them is dedicated to AEW and NXT and main roster stuff news-wise. And our shows that we do during the weekend are for Raw and Smackdown and stuff related to WWE main show stuff. But I couldn't do this by myself. I, of course, have to have my co-host, like I said, Christopher Brother Ray Patton. How you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful, man. It's great to be back on the show, and I'm excited to talk about some wrestling. How are you, Dane?
I'm doing lovely. I spent the morning with my roommate's kid. Well, actually, we only did this for like 20 minutes, but we have this new thing that we do on. We watch My Back Deck. He puts out bread, and we have a fat squirrel, a blue jay, and a cardinal that all come out at the same time for that said bread. So it is actually an amazing, it's like National Geographic, right the fuck there, except for bread eating.
We totally do that with birdseed on the back porch, and we have this one squirrel I'm pretty sure is like either the fattest squirrel of all time or pregnant, and this blue jay, and they fight each other. Like the blue jay gets all puff chested, like starts squawking, and the squirrel's like, "I'm not moving either, dog." It's really weird. They have these weird Mexican standoffs on my back deck, so it's definitely entertaining to watch.
It is entertaining to watch, and I hope that the Cardinal and the Blue Jay never rough each other up, because the Cardinal's very small, and I heard that they don't like each other in nature. It's weird stuff, just because, just stupid stuff, basically. But let's stop trying to pretend that we're a nature show, and past listeners will know that we kind of ramble like this. It's kind of the part of the enjoyment of Wrestling Geeks Alliance, but Let's talk about some stuff. Just like the unfortunate thing that we had to talk about on the last show involving WWE wrestler Chad Gaspard and what happened with him. We have another tragic story to unfortunately start off with. Stardom wrestler Hana Kimura has passed away at the age of 22. I will be honest with you. I have not seen too much of her work. I think that Chris has got some information that's a little bit more expands upon stuff, including a match that he believe put on the Facebook page of her and B. Priestley having a match not too long ago. But she was 22, and it looks like she might have taken her own life, and a lot of it due to cyberbullying. From what they're looking into right now. And the whole concept, just the fact that she was 22 and just a beautiful young girl, just has everything going for her. I haven't seen her work, but she works at Stardom, and B. Priestley, Tony Storm, Io Shirai, Asuka, Kairi Sane, they all came out of this camp, and it's very top level wrestling, just with an all-female division, which is pretty cool, actually. But Stardom put up, a little tribute for her on Twitter. This is a really, really tragic loss. And personally, for me, even though I don't know of her work or whatever. She's a human being, and I'm sure a lot of us were bullied. I don't like the modern way. I mean, I was extremely bullied through middle school and high school. I don't like the modern approach to trying to, silence it. Honestly, I think that it should be encouraged to, and not in a physical way necessarily, but to stick up for yourself and realize that the level of ego that comes from the popularity concept is all just bullshit. And I wish that kind of that was the approach, but it gets bad when we have these online troll pieces of shit that do cyberbullying, and it really affects people. And I can believe that if you are in any type of limelight, if you are any type of popularity level, to get people just bringing you down constantly, especially if you possibly have something previous of a mental disorder, that it could be completely just belittling and destructive. So very unfortunate with the situation itself. I hate bullying. It's just something that happens. And, if anyone was out there thinking this was funny and this outcome blew you away, you fucking deserve the shitty feeling that you have. And if anyone doesn't feel shitty, I hope whatever happens comes towards you with karma. But Chris, any words about Hana?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I mean, she was seemingly who Stardom was going to start building the company around, considered one of the most charismatic people there, and has been known for kind of working some really good matches with some of your gaijin wrestlers like Jamie Hayter and Bea Priestley, which be the match I posted on our Facebook page. So if you go to the Geek Vibes Nation Facebook page, you should see the Bea Priestley match that she had back in September, which was phenomenal. But just recently, she held the first. I mean, she was in the very first women's match at the Tokyo Dome. So she was a part of that show, and there were some big plans of her becoming the leader of Tokyo Cyber Squad. But she was involved with this popular, I guess, which I don't know anything about the reality TV show, so I can't really speak to what the show is. But apparently she was involved with this reality show called Terrace House. And there was an incident on there. And since that incident, I guess she had gotten some hate mail, which basically is like she slapped a guy on this reality TV show. And that's when kind of this hate mail started flooding in, I guess, from fans of said reality show, which sounds absolutely crazy. I would remind everyone out there, reality shows are a fucking work. So, like, most of that shit is scripted, so don't take it so damn seriously. The next thing I would remind people is, and we've said this on the show many times, like, try to be kind to people because you don't know what else they're going through. So online, like, maybe don't be such a dick. It's okay to have a difference of opinion or have some sort of temperament, but there's no reason to verbally attack people. And I think Joey Ryan kind of summed it up best, surprisingly, which is he just said, I couldn't imagine dealing with hate on social media at 22. I can barely handle it now. Some of you should be ashamed of yourselves. So if you're out there and you were part of this, you should be ashamed of yourself. And just an outpouring of respect from Natalya, Tessa Blanchard, Chris Cyborg, obviously a lot of the Stardom wrestlers like Jamie Hayter mentioning early. But yes, it's just very sad and unfortunate to someone who seemingly would have had a very bright future in Stardom. And if you kind of become the top star there, you can, as a female wrestler, you can pretty much work anywhere in the entire world. So it's just really, really unfortunate. I mean, even if this wasn't a wrestler, it's a very unfortunate situation.
Absolutely. And like we did on our last show for Shad, I'd like to give 10 seconds of respect for the passing. All right. I also would like to rest in peace to Jerry Sloan, American basketball coach. Was coach for 23 seasons of the Utah Jazz. I guess you can correlate that with wrestling, since somehow he allowed his top player to go wrestle Dennis Rodman on the opposite team in WCW. But just, significant person in the sports world. I heard about it, and I actually know who he is, which I think people would think that was crazy. But so a little bit of rest in peace to him, who passed away. And also, since this is the day that Owen passed away, rest in peace to him as well. We did like I said, on the episode Dark Side of the Ring on Owen Hart on our last episode, along with NXT and AEW reviews and our predictions for Double or Nothing, which is tonight, because we record this on a Saturday. But heavy way to start the show again, Chris. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah, shit's getting real old. I don't mean that jokingly. It is just it's a very depressing way to start the show, but it's it's got to be talked about, unfortunately.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about some stuff that will definitely raise our spirits with the Raw and SmackDown. I'm just kidding. This is going to happen just because of consistency, but I will say that there are a lot of aspects of both Raw and SmackDown that I liked, and I had some question marks as well, like normally. So we're going to start off with Raw. The show opened with Charlie Caruso interviewing Randy Orton in the ring about his challenge from last week. Randy basically gave the impression to the audience that Edge was at home and just talked directly that he was, scared and a coward, and that he wouldn't, the same heel stuff, and that's why he didn't give him any type of direct answer. Well, Edge was there. He interrupted him, and the two exchanged words, like Edge telling him basically that he is one of the most impressive wrestlers that he knows, but he's basically has wasted his talent most of the time, and he was handed his career. Something that Randy's been told a lot of times, and there was a point where Randy kind of wanted to be like, is that all you got? But he got interrupted once again by Edge. Their interactions when it comes to promos is great. Them building stuff is good. But I'm glad that we're getting a normal match with the two of them. My intrigue is just not as there as it was towards the match building to WrestleMania. And I don't think saying, for this one, I'm sure Edge and Randy Orton hate this concept, but promoting it as could be the greatest wrestling match of all time. That is such a loaded fucking concept and really stupid to throw up on there. But I expect these guys to have a good match. And like I said, their words and the way they interact with each other, you can tell they're friends and they're comfortable, and both of them are good when they're good, especially Edge on the mic. So good way to open up. But like I said, my appreciation for this feud has dwindled, and I hate the tagline. I can't stand it, and they're saying it every 5 fucking seconds, and they have a graphic for it. Chris, do you think this is going to be one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time?
Is this just like a rib on the fans for not liking that first match? That's kind of what it seems like, right?
God.
I think they can have a very good wrestling match, and they did this feud ass backwards. They should have had that match, the WrestleMania match, after their first actual match. So it's always weird when you work in reverse like that. But I think this match will be a lot better. It's going to be more in a wrestling format. And as far as their promos and the build-up, they've been phenomenal. No, I don't think anyone had a problem. I know that me and you didn't have a problem with the build towards WrestleMania. It was more just the actual payoff for it. I think
Exactly.
the only thing that I actually complained about the feud in general is they, debuted Edge and then kind of kept him off TV for a long period of time, which I didn't think was the best way to push a guy that's just coming back. But outside of that, yeah, I've liked everything about the feud besides the match.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the match. I think they'll have a good match to end this on. Hate the tagline, but I'm actually more looking forward. And it's not that I dislike Randy or anything like that. He's a good company guy, and he'll go on to having a good feud with someone else, hopefully afterwards. My level of interest now is what is Edge going to do past Randy Orton? Who's the next opponent that they're going to pair him up with? He's not supposed to have a lot of dates, Chris, but it looks like he's already gone past that with at least appearances and stuff. So are we going to have a situation with Edge where he loves it so much that he's going to pull a Daniel Bryan where it was supposed to be like a part-time schedule and then it becomes not full-time but pretty much the same fucking thing? Do you think that Edge, after Orton, will go into another feud immediately, or do you think that we won't see him for a minute in between, especially given the pandemic? And who would you like to see him go against after Randy? I guess on Raw.
Yeah, that's where it gets weird. Is okay. Well, what brand is he going to be on? Wow, that's a tough one. Who would he go against next? I guess Seth Rollins. I think that would be a good matchup for him on Raw. And the other one that I can think of would be, Samoa Joe, if they want to let him wrestle. That's kind of been a dream match for a long time for a lot of fans, to see Edge versus Samoa Joe, guys that were both kind of champions during that time period for different companies. That would be fun. Kevin Owens, he loves Edge. Yeah. Canadian versus Canadian.
All right, well, you just like gave us like his next 3 feuds. I like that. All of them. I'm like, yeah, dude.
Like when you look at that roster at the top, it's because they're booking Drew McIntyre the way they are. It doesn't really make sense to put Edge there, but you can rotate people in and out from Drew McIntyre to Edge, and just build the storylines out maybe across 2 months as opposed to one. Like if he's going to work separate dates, build it out to the next big pay-per-view, and use him sparingly, which I think I'm fine with because. We've seen it work for Lesnar and Cena, and they know how to do that to some extent when they don't over fucking think it.
When they don't over fucking think it, no shit. I like all 3 of those feuds. I'm very curious. There is another person, but he's on the other brand. But I eventually want to see some storyline, and I don't know if you keep it babyface, or if you switch one heel. But between Daniel Bryan and Edge, because these are 2 of the greatest comebacks in modern professional wrestling. You have one that was partially trained by Bret Hart, Canadian wrestler, and then you have one that was partially trained by Shawn Michaels, but one's more the explosive, kind of has like the Edge has more of the personality like a Shawn Michaels, as he's shown with the Rated R Superstar, and Daniel Bryan's more reserved like a Bret Hart. And I'm not saying that you got to bring any of that type of shit into it, but the fact that they both come back, they're both great top wrestlers. Maybe a heel Edge and a babyface Daniel Bryan in the future would also be a storyline or something I'd like to see play out if he moves to SmackDown, I guess. But you picked it, man. There's a lot of reasons Seth Rollins makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of reasons Samoa Joe makes a lot of sense. And there are a lot of reasons why your third person that I can't think of right the fuck now on top of my head.
Kevin Owens.
Thank you, Kevin Owens. I know that he really likes Aleister Black, so I could also see him trying to get in a program with Aleister to raise his stock because of their interactions and what he said about him. So that's another person I'll throw from Raw.
I think that would be good too. I don't know if you want to go there right off the bat because Aleister needs the win, right? So at least they're buffering it a little bit with having him get some wins over Randy and having a strong Rumble appearance. So I wouldn't be totally torn like to pieces if that's the next place they go. But how do you get Edge to a heel from where he's at right now in between? Because Aleister's like a babyface right now, right?
Yeah, I think, and the thing is, and you picked out 3 people, even Kevin Owens, you can kind of do something because Kevin's so good at bouncing from babyface to heel if you want to do whatever. But with Aleister, he does have to be a straight babyface, so I don't know. You could have his whole entire run in theory on Raw as a babyface before he becomes a heel maybe later on SmackDown by doing something devious. Or you could pull that trigger, I guess, on Raw. But yeah, you're right. Especially if we get audiences back they're gonna want to fucking root for Edge for a long, long time. It's gonna be a while before it's accepted, and you could bury Aleister Black, the babyface, by trying to position Edge as a heel because the audience will just not go for it and they'll just keep with Edge. So that's kind of dangerous as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's that one is going to be really weird when fans are able to come back to the building, what their reaction to Edge is going to be, because we didn't really, unfortunately, we didn't really get to see the reaction to a lot of Edge's stuff because of the pandemic. So that was the one thing. I mean, like, he got the huge pop at Rumble, and then the next night on Raw, and then he was just gone. So it's been a bit weird. But yeah, I think all of the people we've named would be good feuds, and it just frustrates the hell out of me. And I guess we'll get into this a little bit later when we start talking about trades in WWE, that they have no kind of like established way to move wrestlers. And I know we bitched about this for like 3 years, and me going back over, well, since the original brand split. But it's like, if there was someone for Edge to, if there was a reason, I mean, the thing is, you got to come up with a reason for him to turn heel. Like, honestly, I kind of thought that maybe you could go this route. I don't think they will. You could have him lose to Randy Orton, and then they have a mutual respect, and then do a tag team together, and maybe that could be something that would turn Edge heel. But they don't care about their tag team.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's a tough one.
I like it though. I just like the options that they have. Yeah, but that will be fun to see play out. And like I said, not trying to down the whole entire thing, but due to what happened with the match itself at Mania after that large of a build-up, and also due to the comments that Edge said on Corey Graves' podcast, I've kind of been a little bit on simmer, if you will, for this feud. But I'm sure that they will end it with a good match. I will just say that's probably not going to be one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
I mean, we don't know that. Maybe it will be. I think it's a little presumptive to say that kind of shit, but maybe it will be. Who knows? I'm hoping it will be. I would love to see the greatest wrestling match of all time. Pretty sure I already saw it, but we'll we'll see. Yep. It should be a good damn match. I mean, Randy Orton's good, Edge is good. They have chemistry together. Just don't ask them to hit each other with shit for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and expect the fucking. Ugh, yeah, I completely agree with you.
I mean, I buried the Moxley, and if you remember, I buried the Moxley and Omega match for kind of the same thing.
Me too.
It was just they hit each other with shit for a long time, and it didn't seemingly have any reasoning behind the mythology of the match itself. So that's part of the problem. I've seen great hardcore matches. There's ways to do it, but that was not one I would put on the list.
Yeah, I think stuff involving like Sabu or maybe Abyss later on, or maybe actually Sabu and Abyss's matches. You know, obviously Cactus Jack. There's a way to make it interesting, but there's also a way to make it just kind of, all right, well, why are we injuring these guys this badly with this many weapons, especially in a case like this where there's no fucking audience? Like, I don't know.
It was just also really weird to do that match first. Like I said, you kind of started the feud backwards. That should be the match ending the feud, not the one fucking beginning the feud if you were going to continue it. Another person I just thought of for Edge, if Roman Reigns comes back, you could do Roman Reigns versus Edge.
Yeah,
which could be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that one's. I agree that would be an awesome match, and I think it's more than just the spear versus the spear type of thing. Like they always try to fucking angle shit like that of. It just, when is Roman coming back? Obviously, is a question behind that. We'll have to wait and find out. But his old Shield buddy Seth Rollins, I gotta admit, Chris, a little bit with this craziness of him being all wigged out last week, and this time it feels like he did like a DMT journey or some shit. Maybe listen to Joe Rogan. Seth is enlightened. He now seems to be a different way. He approached Murphy and hugged him, whereas last time it looked like Seth had seen a ghost and, apparently beat Rey Mysterio out of rage and didn't realize it until afterwards. But we've talked about that from last week. But Seth Rollins, basically spoke. And at the end of it, after talking to Rey Mysterio, told him that he was, said you're welcome from the bottom of his heart. So they're positioning him differently. I don't know what the fuck direction. I think it was Brian and Vinny, they were talking about it. Maybe it was Brian and what the hell's his host on the main show? I can't remember. But, comparing it, a lot of people are saying, is this really smart to be trying to do at the same time that AEW is doing the Brody Lee gimmick? But I think that those are kind of very different styles and presentation. Or is this too close to the CM Punk, Straight Edge Society, or the one that he did, with Raven before that? Where are they going? But I think they're giving it a little bit of originality is what I'm trying to say. During this, Humberto Carrillo basically had a huge problem with him saying the shit, and he wanted to go against Murphy. I don't know why no one's trying to go for Rollins, since he's the one who actually did this, but I guess that's the cool thing about having a cult leader and followers. You can get them to do your dirty work. And they had a match. Murphy defeated Humberto Carrillo. Carrillo was distracted a bunch by Rollins throughout the whole thing, which allowed Murphy to hit him with a knee strike, and then the Murphy's Law to win. I really love Buddy Murphy in the ring. He's awesome. And following the match, Aleister Black came out and was fucking furious, went after Buddy Murphy. Seth Rollins dodged the whole place, and it looks like they're setting up Seth Rollins in the future against Aleister Black. That's what I'm assuming. But how'd you like this?
I like this direction of Seth Rollins a lot more than I liked just the straight Messiah with AOP and Buddy Murphy. I think it does give him a little bit more to his character. And it's not, to me, it's nothing like the Brody Lee gimmick outside of they both kind of have a little cult, right? But I mean, is it really a cult if there's only one person in your group? It's more like it's just your bro. Well, I guess Austin Theory is there now too, right? So yeah, maybe they're fleshing that thing back out. I just see this entire thing as a way that for them to get Seth Rollins turned back as a babyface. That's kind of what it seems like. And I mean, I think that goes into, obviously Becky's pregnancy announcement, and we kind of got into that a few shows ago. But yep. As far as like the overall story arc right now, I think they're doing more interesting things with Seth Rollins right now than they've done in a while. I like this kind of loose cannon-esque Brian Pillman thing that he's got going on. It is weird with the Humberto Carrillo stuff, but it's like, I don't know. If I lost to everyone in the entire company, I probably wouldn't want to go against Seth Rollins either. If I'm being completely honest.
That's a good point.
I mean, fucking poor guy. Like, every time I see him in a match, I know he's just going to lose. And I know they try to, like, cover it up by it being him being distracted. But what's the fucking end game with Humberto Carrillo? I have more questions about that than I do Seth Rollins, actually. Like, what the fuck? Like, Seth Rollins is going to be fine. Like, there's a lot of stuff they could do with that. I mean, you could have, once his group finally comes back officially, so let's say AOP's healthy, you could have that entire group get taken over by Buddy Murphy or even Austin Theory, depending on what they want to do with Austin Theory. And that be the reason you turn Seth babyface, and he can just go crazy in the opposite way. There's a lot of fun stuff that you can do out of that.
And one thing I think that we're, not forgetting, but not mentioning is the fact that kind of like, even though he's older, obviously, and has more experience, but Jericho being involved in the inner circle helps out all those guys, especially the younger ones. Having Buddy Murphy and now Austin Theory, especially based on his age, under the guide of Seth Rollins can't be bad for them at all. With Humberto, I feel like what they can do is just have Angel Garza try to like reason with him and, have him go heel and do something dastardly for Selena's group and just switch him up and put the mask back on him. And I don't know if they're going to do, I forgot what his name used to be, but they don't have to do that persona exactly, but just make him more of a badass, than this clean baby face and put him with their group. But with Seth, do you think that it's going to be inevitably a feud between him and Aleister Black? That's at least what they look like they're positioning.
That seems like the current. Yeah, that seems like where they're going with this, and it kind of makes the most sense. I would assume that Aleister would get the better of this feud, because it seems like they're doing a better job of building Aleister now, as of late, minus that weird thing where he didn't help Rey Mysterio last week. But I think that he was just supposed to be kind of in shock, I guess. I don't know. I thought that was kind of silly, but yeah, that would make the most sense to me right now with Seth. And then you can move him on to, like I said, someone like Edge, or if Kevin Owens comes back, we can revisit that.
Yeah, definitely sounds good. All right, so King Corbin entered Raw, Chris, and was demanding stuff from everyone, wondering where his special room was, his special locker room and whatnot, and he's ready to take down Drew McIntyre. Which I'm not gonna lie, I actually liked their match at the end of the night, but we'll get to that. We also had Liv Morgan cut a promo saying she learned from her match with Charlotte and she won't give up. She's doing these babyface promos. She's not doing them wrong. She looks like she's actually emotionally invested in them. I just don't really care, and I kind of feel bad because I want her to succeed, and I don't think the promos are bad. It's just, all right, you're gonna do it, then fucking do it. I don't know. How'd you feel about these, Chris?
Well, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Raw built their women's division around one female wrestler, and everyone else kind of was an afterthought. So it's going to take some time to get someone like Liv Morgan up to the level where you would care more, like meaningful wins, for instance, like if she beat Kairi Sane or Asuka, or hell, got a surprise win over Shayna. But that's part of the problem, and WWE does this. They make their top very top heavy with one or two people, and then they're like, I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do next. I guess we got to build a star, and they're not the best at that. But I think Liv's promos was pretty good, and at least they're not continuing where we were at a few months ago with her, Lana, and Rusev and Bobby Lashley. This is a much better spot for both Liv and Bobby Lashley and Rusev, even though he got fired.
And oh, wait a minute. No, that's not really good for her. She just screams in the back now with brown hair. And anyways, we'll get to Lana later on. So we had a match where Charlotte came down and basically laid that. I don't exactly know why she actually called out Ruby Riott. It was something I can't remember her wording, but she was basically saying that, like, she heard that Ruby believed that she could beat her or something on those lines, or could have beaten her in the past when they've had matches. But she called out Ruby Riott. They actually had a pretty good match. And Flair won with the figure eight, kind of sort of thing. And I realized that if they actually had a fucking cool women's division for tags, what the hell is wrong with me? God, sorry about that. It's 1:21, but I'm gonna pretend it's like 8 a.m. right now. Anyways, if they actually had a good tag division for the women wrestlers, you could really have a cool tag team with Ruby Riott and our friend that we were gushing about from NXT. And yeah, man, Shotzi. They could have a really ruthless, badass punk girl tag team, but I don't ever want to see them in a tag team because then I'll know that they're not going to be doing shit with them. Not that they're doing much with Ruby Riott, but she had a pretty good match with Charlotte. How'd you like this? Charlotte is literally on every fucking product, so me and you are happy, but so many bitchy WWE fans get the bitch more, and I love it. I drink their tears, kind of like how Cartman did with Scott Tenorman after he told him he ate his parents. Like, oh, cheers, it's so great, it's healthy and lovely. Sorry.
I mean, if you should be mad at the WWE, not Charlotte. That's what I would say to those fans. The reason she's on every product is because she is, at the moment, the biggest star in the women's division because Becky stepped down. So they're going to put her wherever they can to try to elevate other people. Like this match, while Charlotte won, the idea is to give her a meaningful win, headed into the NXT show, and then the build up for that, triple threat match, and in which Charlotte is probably going to be putting someone over there. So like complaining about it, it seems weird to me because the end goal is to put over Rhea Ripley, which Charlotte seems like she's had no problem doing as far as working with her thus far. So I don't know. Charlotte's probably the best female wrestler they have on the main roster, if not in the company in general. I mean, Asuka is fucking great, but they got to get that character back to where it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah, which they did all that damage themselves. What are you gonna do? All right, so we had MVP. He came up to Bobby Lashley again in an interview and reiterated his question for Bobby, asking Lashley, is he gonna let Lashley free? And basically insinuating with Lana. He said he'd see him later tonight and he'd be in his corner. Like I said, and where it goes later on, I mean, this is a good opponent, I think, for Drew with Bobby in the concept. I'm not going to expect exquisite work with the two of them, but, as far as a big guy that Drew can get through, I think Bobby Lashley is definitely one of them, and I like the pairing with MVP. Even Bobby in his promos, he seems like he's just more intense and pissed off, but still like, a hell of a lot better than, like you said, like a couple months ago where his position was with the fucking company live in front of a bunch of people. But yeah, man. We also had a segment with the Kabuki Warriors. They attempted to celebrate Asuka's Raw Women's Championship. Nia Jax interrupted and insulted them. She grabbed Kairi Sane, I swear to God, just threw her fucking down into like one of those work cases and shit like that. It's like, can you just not touch her, please, Nia? For the love of God. So Asuka attacked her. Later in the night, Nia found Kairi Sane backstage and attacked her. Oh, yeah, that's when that happened. I'm sorry. So she first assaulted, then Asuka attacked her, and then Kairi was playing like a flute later on, and Nia found her backstage, attacked her, which caused Asuka to find and attack Jax again. So it looks like they're positioning the two of those ladies against each other. Like I said, can Nia just not touch Kairi Sane? How'd you like MVP courting Bobby Lashley, and how'd you like the interaction between Nia Jax and the Kabuki Warriors?
Well, with MVP and Bobby Lashley, I really like this pairing. I like they're getting him away from Lana, like I said earlier, and he does make a good opponent for Drew. That's probably the most interesting match I can think of with Bobby Lashley right now, but him having a manager and MVP, a guy that's really good on the mic, I think goes a long way. With Bobby Lashley, if they go straight to the Drew McIntyre feud, I think that'll probably end up being his best WWE match as far as this run goes. But I don't know where they go with him afterwards. I mean, they hardly ever even talk about the mid-card title on Raw. It seems like that division's not very strong. So I don't. Basically, what do you do with Bobby Lashley after this feud?
I don't know, man. And you're right, because Andrade barely fucking represents the U.S. title. I don't think he's defended it in a long time, but I don't know. That's a very good question. Were you worried when Nia kind of ragdolled Kairi Sane in the back in that segment? Because it looked like she just threw her head into a fucking case.
I think that was planned out. They're just playing off of that botch of Nia being. I love that like Nia fucking up is what gets her into storylines. It seems like.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're playing into that and the fans' outrage of her dropping Carrie on her fucking neck in that buckle bomb spot. So it seems like they're just tying that into the storyline, and so far I've liked the build. Maybe this is what flips the switch in Asuka and makes her go back to her NXT killing ways.
I want to see her destroy her. I think it would be awesome. Yeah. So Bobby Lashley went against R-Truth. R-Truth was out there beforehand, making threats to Tom Brady to get the 24/7 championship back. Talking about his idol John Cena once again and calling out Bobby Lashley. Lashley came out and won with, I like his new submission of the full Nelson. It's not, and it hasn't been done in a while, but with someone that size and the way that you just gyrate it, it looks very effective. R-Truth pulled out the Pretty Ricky thing, and he was calling him Devo during the match. That was pretty fucking funny as well. I love R-Truth, man. I just wish that he could get a bump, but he knows he's in it for this type of stuff, and I just thought it was hilarious to call out Tom Brady. But obviously, Bobby Lashley won, MVP clap from stage, and then you saw Lana freaking the fuck out in the back. How'd you like this match with Bobby Lashley and R-Truth?
It was a decent match, and R-Truth is fucking hilarious. And like I said, I still like the tie-in with MVP, and obviously the separation of Lana from Bobby Lashley. But the match itself, it was a decent TV match, and R-Truth is awesome. That fucking Tom Brady shit. I had to like Google to see if Tom Brady was actually the champion. So I didn't find out. Is he actually?
No, I don't think so. I think they're doing the R-Truth stupid, so he's getting Gronk mixed up with Brady.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. But it's the 24/7 title, so who the fuck knows? Like Kyle Busch won it, and then no one knew for like 2 days because they forgot to air the footage of it.
Jesus Christ.
So I don't. That title's so fucking weird. But R-Truth, man, he took lemons and made lemonade with that whole thing, and it's worked out well for him. And even though he's more of a comedic role, and that bothers both of us because we know how damn good he actually is, he's still a pleasure to watch each week.
Yeah, he holds it down as a comedic force and is always entertaining, and that's obviously needed. But he's had a pretty damn good career. So, anyways, let's keep on going. The Women's Tag Team Championship match, we had Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross champions going against Iconics. They won because of disqualification when Peyton Royce wouldn't stop throwing Bliss into the ring post. Later, backstage, Billie Kay slapped Royce in the face and then felt bad about it, and they hugged. Guess what I'm about to say, Chris? Actually, don't worry. I don't care! There you go.
I was gonna go with no one gives a shit, but but we're on the same path. I mean, they've already had these teams feud before, and the roles haven't reversed where one is now a heel team. It's the same exact fucking storyline. So who gives a shit? Maybe build some new tag teams. Take someone like Santana Garrett and put her with another female wrestler, and then you have a new tag team. Like, build the division a little bit so at least it's not, okay, we're going to have a singles match with interference, then we're going to have another singles match with interference, then we're going to have this tag match, and then we're going to do this for like the next 5 months because we only have 2 tag teams. It's terrible. And that's why we don't give a shit. At least that's why I don't give a shit, because we've already been down this road and there is no other contenders. But like the end result is that like they swap the belts back and forth and just feud with each other forever, and the fans are not chanting "Fight forever."
Fight forever, clap, clap. Here's actually a really important question, Chris. Does MVP and Taz go to the same tailor?
Maybe. I don't know.
They always have the same exact outfit. Maybe they have the same stylist then.
Yeah, I don't know. Is Taz living in Miami now? Is that what's happening?
I don't think so. Oh, Miami Jones over here. Anyways.
I miss when Taz used to wear like the orange, like his trunks used to be, those fucking bright ass orange suits.
Awesome.
And then they would like show him on commentary and he'd be next to like Michael Cole or some shit. You'd be like, this looks fucking weird.
What is that pumpkin sitting next to Michael Cole?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's great. He should bring that shit back. Bring back the orange suit, Taz.
Old orange gimmick Jones over here. All right. So yeah, the next match was Shayna Baszler going against Natalya. kind of sloppy, but also kind of, I mean, just a grapple based match. It wasn't going to be good for Natalya because once again, Shayna Baszler beat her with the Karafuda clutch. It was a submission match. If I didn't say that, and after the match, Natalya threw another tantrum. Good win for Shayna Baszler, especially since I'm sure Natalya is somewhat working with her like she does everyone at the beginning of the run. She's kind of like the gatekeeper. But I don't know where they're going with Natalya throwing fits and tantrums after she loses. Where do you think that's going, Chris?
I mean, hopefully she's going to find a tag partner and try to win the tag titles. It's like, I mean, this would be one of Natalya's many heel turns. That's where I think they're going.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's like, why not? She hasn't done it in a while. It's always like the big show with her, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, part of that is, like you said, she's kind of the gatekeeper, so they just going to flip-flop her whenever they need to. But usually when a wrestler pitches a tantrum like that, that's when they start cheating to win and become a heel. So I'm assuming that's probably where they're going with it.
All right, so we had Kevin Owens. He returned to host the Kevin Owens show, called out Selena Vega and her group. For some reason, and I didn't really like it because I've liked the way they positioned Kevin Owens as a badass. You know, I know he's got this comedic side to him, and he can be, at least as a heel, somewhat chicken shit, but I didn't like that he was chilling on the apron while all three of them. Like, obviously, yeah, that confrontation would happen, but I would think that the way they built him with Seth Rollins especially, you know, he wouldn't be fucking trying to just chill on the apron. That seems like something he would do when he was a heel. Anyways, but he revealed that Apollo Crews was also a guest, and he was back better than ever. And Crews and him attacked the heels that led directly into a tag match in which Kevin Owens and Apollo Crews defeated Angel and Andrade. Austin Theory tried to interfere but hit Garza on accident, allowing Crews to hit his Storming Powerbomb for the win. After the match, Andrade and Garza jumped Theory and kicked him out of the group. Where are they going with Kevin Owens, Chris? How did you like the match itself? They're definitely, I don't know why they took him out, or if he legit got injured and now he's over it, or I don't really know why they took Apollo Crews basically out of the Money in the Bank match, but it looks like they're still doing good things with them. And now Austin Theory is out of Selena's group.
Yeah, and I mean, Austin Theory leaving that group, to me, with how they kind of set it up and some of his tweets, points to, like, you know, joining Seth's group potentially. Kevin Owens, where do I start?
God damn it.
It seems like they're cooling him off. Maybe they're not going to give him that same push that he was getting for whatever reason. I mean, fuck, the only thing you can really do with Kevin Owens is move him to SmackDown. I mean, otherwise, like, I don't know. Could be who the hell would he? Who is he? Like, how does he get to Drew McIntyre? Is the question, and how do you build that feud when you're giving Drew kind of the Roman Reigns-esque push, where he's like the dominant top babyface. Everyone else is below him. I guess, you know, you can do the Andrade match, but what do you do with Kevin Owens after that? Whereas if you moved him to SmackDown, I think there's some more options because you have a top heel in Bray Wyatt. It's not a champion. You don't want to recycle Seth and Kevin again. I don't know what they're doing with him, but hopefully this was just, we have to set up a match for Kevin Owens, so this is what we're gonna do in short amount of time of writing, is my guess.
Maybe if he's sticking around longer, Chris, maybe like we were talking about, maybe Edge's next opponent will be Kevin Owens, and they're gonna flip him heel. Also something that I could see them doing at least.
Yeah, I mean, he did just turn babyface 6 months ago, but who's counting?
I know.
No,
him and Natalya, they just go in the back and flip a coin every 5 months apparently.
I mean, you could have Kevin Owens do the same gimmick and be a heel, I guess. He doesn't really need the Austin gimmick if they're going to book it the way they've been booking it anyways. This is another thing that we, like I said, where we talk about the draft. This is where if you have a character like Kevin Owens, at least you have a reason why he would be having these different types of matches where someone just dislikes him, like whatever team he's on. I think they really need to look at maybe having GMs, but not in the same sense they've done in the past, just GM talent roster GMs or whatever, kind of like in football or any other sport talked about previously. Because in that scenario, you can go the route of like a Vince McMahon with Kevin Owens. You give him that top guy to feud against to some extent. And a reason why he would be having matches with these guys, because he beat Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins got a title shot. The obvious answer would be Kevin Owens should also get a title shot, but they're not going to do that match.
Nope. Really, really damn makes you think that maybe someone's looking at the dates and watching them go by, if you will.
Some of them are doing it from home, like Sami Zayn.
Yep.
There's rumors out there that he's just trying to get fired at this point.
Oh, man. I wouldn't doubt it, man. I really wouldn't. Jesus. All right, so next we had Drew McIntyre, who basically said he was going to kick King Corbin's ass. Yeah, I don't know if he said it that aggressively, but that's usually, the Braveheart thing. So Aleister Black went against Murphy. He defeated him, but that's because of disqualification. We had a lot of DQs tonight, I'm realizing, after going over this. Weird. Austin Theory was at ringside, and Seth Rollins came up to him and hugged him and said that he wanted to recruit him and told him that he needed his help. So he convinced Theory to attack Black on Rollins' command, drawing a DQ after the match. Theory and Murphy beat up Black, and Rollins hugged Theory. And now, like we said, Theory is a part of their group. I have no problem with any of this. Like I said, Seth Rollins is pretty damn good. It's not bad for two guys that are much younger, especially Austin Theory. This is great for Austin Theory to be able to learn under Seth and be already on the main card. So, yeah, I guess I like this pairing better than Zelina's group. And I wonder if that means that if they get a third member, we're going to have a 3-on-3. I don't know how that would work since they're both heel groups, but we'll have to wait until that happens. I feel like Theory is going to want some retribution for getting his ass kicked, though. But how did you like this match? And how do you like Theory with Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy?
I like that pairing better. And I think that, now you have two options to turn on Seth Rollins in this group, or maybe both of them. And then you have two great matches for Seth Rollins if you decide to flip him babyface. So I actually like it a lot. The match itself was pretty good. But like you said, there was a lot of DQs on this show. The beatdown was believable from the group. So not too much to complain about in this.
Yeah, I agree. Not much to complain about at all. A number of segments involving the Street Profits and Viking Raiders and a game of axe throwing aired. The Vikings were good at it, and the Profits were not. It turns out Angela Dawkins is secretly a great axe thrower. However, Montez Ford accidentally threw an axe into a police car windshield, and the police let them off the warning because she was attracted to Ivar, but not Eric, which was duly noted. What the fuck is this shit?
I don't know, but this is better than most of the comedy stuff they do, so I'm going to give them a little bit of a pass. I was slightly entertained by this.
It was funny, but it's like kind of part of me is like you have to have Montez Ford throw an axe at a police car. Jesus Christ.
I mean, I guess that it seems like they realized that whatever they were doing with the Viking Raiders before is just making them a dominant team wasn't working. So they're trying to find another element to that tag team, which isn't a bad
making
idea.
them lovable.
Yeah. Trying to find their next Otis for Raw, I guess, to some extent.
Jesus Christ. Well, oh yeah. All right, that's all I got. Apollo Crews will challenge Andrade for the U.S. title next week. I could actually see him getting it. I mean, I like Andrade. He's had the U.S. title, I feel like 50 million fucking times. So I have no problem if they give Apollo his first title, I believe, on the main product. If they want to build him like that, they can give reason for, maybe Austin Theory causes it, something like that. But should be a good match between the two of them for sure. Are you looking forward to seeing Apollo Crews and Andrade next week?
I am, and I think it would actually be a smart move to put that title on Apollo Crews and try to build up your mid card. And you can work in the Austin Theory thing. He just got a beat down. He can cost Andrade, the title, and then you have a great match with Austin Theory and Andrade. It's just weird because Seth's group is also heel and he joined them, but he also did just get beat down by this other heel group.
Supremacy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could just be pissed off that he got a beat down, and that could be the storyline. And it's just my faith in WWE pulling that off correctly. Not very high. But I think getting that title off Andrade is to some extent a smart move, because that's another opponent that you could have for Drew McIntyre to have more of a feud, I should say.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we have the WWE Championship match with Drew McIntyre and King Corbin. I gotta say, I like this match. It was very a paint by numbers. Both of them got all their shit in style match, but they both worked pretty well with each other. And before the match, MVP and Lashley came out. They interrupted, and they said they were coming for McIntyre and his WWE Championship. And they watched the match. It just, like I said, there was a lot of the same type of stuff. Brawling on the outside, McIntyre getting the better of Baron Corbin coming back with some heel tactics. Of course, he went for the Claymore, and I knew right away it was going to be the spinning maneuver that Baron Corbin always applies there. And he headbutted him in the face, and then slowly after that got the Claymore. But pretty good match, and Baron Corbin gets to go back home to SmackDown with nothing. He fucking lost this, and he fucking lost the IC title. There is no reason to put him in anything major, because obviously he can't do it. So give him something else. Well, that's all I got to say.
They should give him the Murder Champion or like belt.
Jesus Christ.
Best at tossing people off high things. Belt. Then the fucking Undertaker will show up.
I'm the Lord of Darkness.
I thought this was a pretty damn good Raw match, honestly, and I loved the Claymore into the Deep Six, which I kind of knew it was coming too. But that move is Baron Corbin's like signature and his finisher are fucking both awesome. So whenever someone can work in, that reversal spot with him, that's like always a high spot in the match that's fun to watch. The rest of it was, it reminded me a lot of Roman versus Corbin, but I liked that match as well. It's just, as long as Corbin's not constantly in the main event, I don't have as much of a problem with him.
If they were to put him in a tag team with someone that can be extremely unlikable, and they're already building him like that, him and Sheamus would be a pretty good heel tag team. And I think they can get heat.
Yeah, and I mean, Corbin is almost like Kane, except they kept him in the main event picture too long. But you could just also have Corbin be like, just book Corbin like Kane for the next bazillion years. He's like kind of can be that upper mid card guy to help put over someone like a Drew McIntyre. It's just, you got to be careful of overutilizing him, and they did that for so fucking long on Raw.
Yep. All right, well, that was Raw. Like I said, I actually liked a good majority of Raw. I don't think I had a problem with almost anything that they set up, other than Kevin Owens now being positioned in I don't know what way, but we'll find out. And I just didn't care about the women's tag title match. But pretty good shit. Ready to move to SmackDown, Chris?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we had SmackDown last night, and I watched it and then had to kind of go over the highlights of it, because I might have drank a couple alcoholic beverages last night. It was Friday, and I'm an adult, and I can do that. So there you go. Anyways, the show opened with The Miz and John Morrison making fun of Braun Strowman. Why would I? Here's the thing about this. I'm going to say this right off the bat. Are these two guys? I mean, I know that we're supposed to know that they're idiots, but they decide to, on their show, pick a fight and make fun of Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt. That doesn't seem like a really intelligent thing to do, but I guess they're not supposed to be the intelligent heels, especially with what John Morrison ends up doing to The Miz. But they made fun of Braun Strowman. They had rejected puppets from the Firefly Funhouse. Nothing memorable. Strowman interrupted, and Morrison volunteered Miz for a one-on-one match. One of those same scenarios with the tag team guys like, yo, yeah, well, my partner could kick your ass, and blah, 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 blah. It's kind of like how you hear those stories of the girlfriend that gets in the fight, and then it's like, hey, boyfriend, go beat his ass sort of thing. But, the Universal Champion Braun Strowman defeated The Miz. Kind of toy with them, but then you have The Miz who's constantly, doing heel things and has Morrison to interrupt him. But, got that power slam on him. And after the match, Morrison challenged Strowman to a 2-on-1 handicap match for the Universal Championship belts at Backlash. And I have no idea what the fuck that. Okay, so obviously we're just trying to like simmer on the Bray Wyatt thing, and we're gonna come back to it after this shit show. But I don't understand the tag against one person to get the belts and share them. I would have had no problem if it was the New Day for some reason, but this no, I just don't see it happening. How'd you like the opening and this match with Braun Strowman and The Miz?
Ooh. So the match was okay. It was what I thought it was going to be, which is just Braun destroying The Miz after, fuckery by Morrison, which is what happened. The promo segment was decent. Nothing really to write home about. I guess the idea behind this is with Morrison positioning The Miz, like basically putting that challenge out there, it could be that they're splitting those two, and that might be part of the finish of that Backlash match, because I don't know, maybe they see there's something more they can do with Morrison. Maybe they got a hold of some of his other work in other companies where he was booked.
Maybe they're intelligent.
I mean, nothing against The Miz, and it was fun to have the Dirt Sheet reunion, but I think the world is done with it now, right? We'd be okay with Morrison maybe having a bigger role on the roster, going against someone like AJ Styles, for instance.
Fuck yeah, I would. And Miz is always going to be there. I mean, Miz has already made his accolades and has been in a shorter time than Morrison. And even though Morrison did great outside of WWE, yeah, dude, if he was going to be a kind of not a lackey, but just a tag team guy with The Miz, I wish he went to AEW. And I know he was contemplating on what the hell he's going to do. Some of him wanted to go to New Japan. Some of him wanted, and I mean, we talked to him about that, a couple years back when he was part of AAA, Lucha Underground, and Impact all at the same time. He's a hardworking son of a bitch, and God, some part of me, even though they're not treating him terribly or like he's entry level or anything like that, it just seems like, God, he could have really been big in AEW, or it would have been awesome to see Morrison go over and have amazing matches with Takahashi and Will Ospreay and shit.
I mean, they could also just left him in NXT when he showed up and made that appearance and then never actually wrestled in NXT. Like, that would have been – there's a lot of good opponents there. They could have
absolutely
elevated their fucking roster a bit by having him there. He's a great wrestler, so I'm hoping that this is just ending the Dirt Sheet. They do a feud with maybe him and Miz for a little bit, and then we move on to this IC tournament, which I'm thinking AJ Styles is probably going to win this entire thing, and you could do Morrison versus AJ Styles, and now you have like a great mid-card feud. But it's WWE, so probably not.
So yeah, and so far we have Daniel Bryan, who won last week against Drew Gulak. He's advanced, and he will be going against whoever wins, and we'll talk about obviously the winner with Jeff Hardy, but between Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. On the other side, we have Shinsuke going against AJ, the match next that we're about to talk about. And Elias beat Corbin last week to be able to advance. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel like you could go either way and have some pretty cool matches, but AJ is definitely beating. Like, if they fucking traded AJ Styles which officially he's traded to SmackDown now. If they traded AJ Styles, they put him in this tournament. It's the only title that he has not achieved within there to be a Grand Slam champion. And they have fucking Elias, and I like Elias. But if Elias beats him in this tournament, it's just another disconnect. I'm sure he's going to advance. The question is, do you have Daniel Bryan go against him for the last match, or do you have Jeff Hardy go against him? Either way, he's worked with both guys. I mean, both of them are awesome in concept. I do like the inevitable ending for the IC tournament between AJ and DB, or AJ and Brother Nero.
That is a good question. I guess personally,
I guess you could have Sheamus fuck it up for Jeff Hardy. I mean, that would make sense.
Well, Sheamus, wasn't that the main event of this show? Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus.
Sheamus got rolled up by Jeff Hardy. He was pissed off, so then he comes out and then next week attacks Jeff Hardy while he's going against Daniel Bryan and causes him the match to have Daniel Bryan go on against AJ Styles after beating Elias, basically. Is what I'm
yeah. When you present it like that, yeah, it makes sense that they would just have Jeff Hardy get screwed over by Sheamus and Daniel Bryan advance. But I don't know, unless they're trying to keep this tournament pure. If they're trying to do that, the match I would rather see would be AJ versus Jeff Hardy, because we don't know if we're ever going to get to see that match again. I mean,
yeah,
AJ's locked up long term, and Jeff Hardy's probably on his way out at the end of this contract, I would think. So that would be the match I would prefer to see. But either match will be good.
What would be cool if they're going to do that, if he screws him over? What if, all right, you got a ref bump next week, Sheamus comes out, and at first, kind of just going back to, and it sucks you don't have an audience because it would be such a difference if you did have an audience, but Sheamus goes and bro kicks the shit out of Daniel Bryan immediately, and you're like, what the fuck? And then he does the same thing to Jeff Hardy and just drags Daniel Bryan on top of Jeff Hardy. You can set up future stuff with Sheamus and Daniel Bryan down the line that way, and obviously you have your feud with him and Jeff Hardy, and there's some stuff from the past that throws off the people watching it. That's how I would fucking do it, Chris. But Jeff Hardy versus AJ sounds the coolest in general, though.
Yeah, I mean, what you just laid out is the perfect way to do it. When's the last time WWE did a ref bump, though? It's been a while.
Earl Hebner. I don't know. I'm just
it's been a while. I think that's a thing that they should. I mean, I'm sure they've done it on NXT, and I'm just forgetting, but that's something they don't do on the main roster at all, and it's something they used to do all of the time. Now they just like have fuckery, and the ref's an idiot, kind of.
That's the best thing to do. Well, we'll find out, but I should say AJ had a match with Shinsuke, and they did have a pretty good back and forth match. The guys do have chemistry with each other. But this kind of just devalues Shinsuke more, and we've already kind of talked about that at length, but whatever. I really love that new move that Shinsuke does, or maybe he used to do in Japan. He kind of just recently in the last year brought it, where he positions a person in the ropes between the second rope and the top rope with their limbs, and then comes and does a suplex to them, dragging underneath their body, coming to the outside. I always really liked that. And he got the Kinshasa, but he did like the lowered one and didn't have as much impact. AJ got out of it. He went for another one, and AJ got him in a partial Styles clash, but ended up winning it with the phenomenal forearm. Pretty damn good match. Shinsuke goes on to nothingness, I guess, but obviously AJ advances.
The only thing I guess my big thing about AJ Styles right now is what the hell is his character outside of just being AJ Styles. I think that's with what they did with the Undertaker, and then what they did at Money in the Bank. Like, where is this leading to? Or are we just supposed to forget about it? And now he's just AJ Styles again. The house that AJ Styles built back on SmackDown kind of thing.
I think you're absolutely right. I think he's now babyface. I wouldn't be surprised if he is, and we just never pretend that he was a dick heel. He's back on SmackDown, and that's all that matters. This is AJ Styles built.
But as far as the match goes, I thought this was a really good match. Probably one of the better AJ Styles Nakamura WWE matches. And yeah, there were some really cool spots in it. Like that suplex spot is really cool. I don't know. I guess, Nakamura's just kind of there like Dolph Ziggler or Sami Zayn at this point. That just seems to be the way they're going to utilize him.
I'm trying to think of like an effective feud for him next, but I can't even think of anything on SmackDown. There's like nothing. Maybe find, I guess, a spot for him. I've been saying this, Chris, and I'm sure that it's been brought up. I'd love to see inevitably him and Daniel Bryan in a program together. They learned together. They roomed together in Japan. They know each other really well, and they've always wanted to work together. And that was one of the selling points for Shinsuke to come over to WWE to begin with, and then Daniel Bryan got hurt. So I don't know. I think if anyone, Daniel Bryan could bring Shinsuke out of obscurity.
Yeah. I mean, unless they just do that match and then he just goes directly back to where he was on the card.
He just loses, and that's it.
Yeah. So like,
D. Bryan would have to lose. Like if they have a couple matches, he'd have to lose the first fight to build him, basically.
Yeah. That's just because of the way they've booked Shinsuke. I mean, if they do another trade, let's say they move some roster pieces around, maybe they move, say, Kevin Owens over to SmackDown or something like that, you could do Kevin Owens versus Nakamura on the way in. It's almost like they have to move someone in to start a feud with Nakamura, because I don't know how else you get there.
Or since they have a draft pick, which is the reasoning for AJ going from Raw, maybe Raw grabs Shinsuke. I don't know if that's an equal draft pick, but that could be something they could pull.
Yeah, and or potentially you could make I guess another trade, like talent for talent, and just keep the trade thing going. I find that intriguing. I just think you need to have, like I said, a GM. Yeah, more established in like a GM for both shows, even if it's not even it doesn't even have to be a wrestler. It could be an actor or something. They could play the Fox exec and the USA exec. They don't necessarily have to be like you don't necessarily have to bring in Austin and Kurt Angle and put them on separate brands, which is what they always try to do. You could just have it be a guy and another guy who are TV execs that want their product to get the better ratings. Basically, create your
Jack Tunney's.
Yeah, like President Jack Tunney is a perfect example. Like, do something like that. Don't make the show like focused around them as much. You can do some storyline stuff. As soon as you put a wrestler there, WWE just goes straight with that storyline. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier when I was talking about Owens. But yeah, like I think just having that guy to announce these trades, and maybe even like a short 2-minute package with him discussing a trade that people aren't supposed to be hearing, and then there's some locker room confusion. I think there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with that, and it's also a way to take someone like Shinsuke Nakamura and refreshen them and send them to the opposite brand where they have a whole new subset of people to work with.
Yeah, I'm down. I definitely like that idea. All right, we had the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley going against the NXT Women's Champion Charlotte. They had a fucking great match, I will say. I like this match. They usually work together well. And Bayley, for some reason, for all her faults, she's somehow that thorn in fucking Charlotte's side that she gets these wins. And she did another roll-up, held the ropes to steal the victory. I like the part in the match where Bayley got a roll-up like that earlier and held the ropes, got caught for it, and then Charlotte did it and hold the ropes, and the referee didn't even fucking see it. Like, that was pretty good. But ladies had a good match. I don't know really what this means. If this is just like a hit for Charlotte that Rhea and Io can call out, or probably specifically Rhea before their match at In Your House. But nonetheless, a good win for Bayley, and probably one of the best matches she's had. Bayley's not a bad wrestler, but like, honestly, one of the ones I was invested in, at least, more so. And that's mainly because of the Queen and their chemistry. So I like this match. Chris, how'd you like this match with Bayley and Charlotte?
I like this match a lot. I don't know why Charlotte took a pin here unless she's coming back to SmackDown after dropping the title. But that goes back to the original question of who is carrying the Raw brand as their top female superstar. I mean, is it Asuka? Because I'm fine if that's the case, but they need to position her in that manner. So hopefully that's where they're going with her and Nia if they are bringing. I mean, if they are bringing Charlotte back to SmackDown, which this would make me think, but it's also hard to care about once again. And the reason I say this, it's because we still have that looming fucking feud that they never give us.
Yeah, and I don't think they're ever going to give us, really. What are you going to do? All right, so we had a match, intergender match with Dolph Ziggler and Sonya Deville going against Otis and Mandy. Sonya, I think she had new music, but she definitely had a new leather look with this new jumpsuit. I don't know why she's with Dolph. I just don't understand that pairing. I'm not going to get it, but who gives a shit? And now Mandy Rose coming out in a jean denim outfit. I will say that, honestly, like, she might want to be careful with that. Just in general, there's a lot of cameras on her. But anyways, Rose was pinned by Deville inevitably in the match with a stiff knee strike to the back of the head. After the match, Otis tried to check on Rose, but he got super kicked by Ziggler. Don't know really where this is going. I don't know if this means we're going to get another match between Otis and Dolph, and then that's probably exactly what it is. They're going to have two separate matches in the future for these feuds. But yeah, this was fine. How'd you like it?
Do you think they're going to have two separate matches, or do you think they're going to do an intergender tag match?
Well, they just did one, so now I'm wondering, like, why the fuck they would do another one.
I don't know. I've been wondering why the Iconics and Alexa Bliss's tag team have been wrestling for 78 years, but
that's a good point.
Some of these things are are not to be answered. I guess that's where they go. I just don't understand of having Otis win Money in the Bank and then just having him do the feud that he had with Dolph already.
I don't know what the reasoning on any of the shit that they do, but
SmackDown was. Remember when SmackDown, like, 2 years ago was the A show, and now it's like it is worse than Raw with some of their decision making. I mean, there's still shit that I dislike on Raw, but like some of the booking stuff, it's let's just say SmackDown is very stale. So they need to shift. They really have to do like a draft or more trades or something to rotate some of these guys in and out, because we're seeing a lot of the same feuds just repeated. This one is a prime example. Like, feud's over. Otis got the girl. Like, why the fuck are they still feuding?
I don't know. No idea. If anything, this should be between Mandy and, Sonya, based on what happened after that match. And this should have nothing to do really with Dolph and Otis, since they've already had their feud.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing. Are they trying to position it that Dolph and Sonya are in a relationship together or something?
That would
like
be so fucking stupid.
You get what I'm saying? Like, what is their like? They both had a crush on the same girl. That was what they played, and this is in the storyline. That's what they played up. Otis gets the girl, so they're just both spiteful towards Otis, and that's why they're teaming together. Is that the storyline, or am I thinking way too much?
Their tag team needs to be called High School Antics.
I mean, I'm not trying to ultra bury this thing. I mean, I like Otis and Mandy's storyline. I just thought it came to the conclusion. I don't know why we're retreading it. You just had him win Money in the Bank. This seems like, I know it's a thing for Otis to do and a thing for Dolph to do, but I feel like you could come up with something a little better.
I agree. I love Uprocks. Once again, thank you, like always, Uprocks, for your breakdowns of the matches. They put for this next segment, the Forgotten Sons want to kill you for not loving the troops enough. So that's all I'm going to say. That's what the segment meant. So, you're not going to touch that one either?
Are they a biker gang? Are they what are they? Like, what's
They're Merc.
I get I know they're Merkin, but like I don't know. I have to think that Gunner is just not medically cleared to wrestle is the only reason they haven't separated this guy from this group.
Ugh, I don't know. Yeah. So that's all I got to say about that. Last thing, Intercontinental Championship tournament match. Jeff Hardy defeated Sheamus. The whole entire time, Sheamus is acting cocky, directing stuff to Michael Cole, like beating the crap out of Jeff, stretching his face, giving him those smacks across the chest, and declaring that he was better. Well, Jeff Hardy gonna roll up and advance in the tournament. So, like I said, I could see Sheamus now getting involved next week and fucking shit up for Jeff. We'll have to wait and see. But pretty good match. I don't know what this really does for Sheamus, but hey, they positioned this feud within the beginning of the tournament for them, so I'm sure that they have some ideas. But yeah, what'd you think about this last match with Sheamus and Jeff Hardy?
I thought it was a pretty good match overall, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. Like as we talked about earlier, the Sheamus interference thing makes the most sense. Maybe the idea is that's the build up to Jeff's, like you have a couple matches and then you have one big match and they do an injury angle and he's off TV because that contract's got to be up soon, even with the injury time added to it.
Yeah. I don't even know, man.
I mean, it's a way to put Sheamus over as a monster if he, kills the charismatic Enigma on TV.
You would have to.
But I mean, because unless Jeff Hardy is re-signing, that's very soon they're going to have to pull the trigger on someone murdering him on TV, just like they did with Matt. Unless the idea is you don't want to have the one match, you want to have Jeff Hardy start to job to everyone. But it seems like they're positioning Jeff Hardy with a bunch of wins to have that final match be some kind of, stip match with a big angle of someone like, Sheamus murdering him, or maybe even, the Fiend or something.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of looking over things, and I just found an unfortunate news story. Looks like stated on the last episode of WWE Backstage was a segment with Renee Young, Ember Moon, Booker T, and Mark Henry that Ember Moon admitted that she might be done with wrestling. The injury that she sustained might be something that's going to keep her out of wrestling. Her statement that she made was just trying to think, like, I look back in my career in WWE, I've been there 5 years, and like, yeah, I could go back and say, yeah, I should have been the one to defeat Asuka Streak, or at least I hope that, or I could say, oh man, me and Bayley from SummerSlam, I wish I'd done more. The more and more I sit back and look at everything I've done and what I would redo, I think more about my injury currently and realizing that I may have a career-ending injury. I'm coming back from the hardest injury, and I might not have a chance to redeem myself of all things that I want to do and all the things I want to do within my future. It's so hard to think back and regret when I try to look forward. Mark Henry kind of just gave her coach advice, basically told him not to give up. And she said, I keep looking forward and I keep pushing forward because this is what I love. This is my passion. This is the only thing I've ever wanted to do for myself. And I want that opportunity to not look back, but to look forward and to be better than ever before. And it's so hard to look back, like it really is. God, I just feel like, thank you guys. But yeah, it's hard. And I hope that I do more matches. There's so many more things I want to do. Like I said, I'm trying to get on y'all's level. I'm going to prove to you guys that I'm worth redeeming those mistakes and worth redeeming those regrets. It's just going to be a while before I do so, if I do so. So that's Ember Moon, man. That sucks.
It sucks, but it also smells like a work. Like
Could be.
they're building the storyline that they did with Tegan Knox coming back from her knee injury.
The thing is, I'm gonna have to watch the video of them talking and watch Booker T's facial expressions because he's the one who trained her. If he looks like he's gonna emotional, or if I can hear her voice throughout this, it will kind of, I think, make me think one way or the other about that possibility. But I hope if there is a situation where she's trying, but she's realizing that this injury might be it, that fucking sucks and she's missed in the women's division. And I wish they would have done more with her while she was on the main roster.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. She was out for a concussion at one point, and then she had the knee injury, right?
I don't remember what she went out on, like what she injured.
Because I don't remember which injury she came back from. So I don't know if she's talking about like recovering from concussion syndrome or something, or recovering from the knee injury. I would have to go back and look because she basically had them back to back.
Let me see if I can find out.
But it would be very unfortunate for her not to wrestle again. With it being WWE backstage, they try to do some realism stuff in there. The only reason I said it kind of smells a little bit like a work is the way it was worded. Like, I want to have more matches in the future. The fact that Mark Henry was kind of coaching her up, it just seems it could go either way. But like I said, that's just from me reading it. I haven't watched. I think actually watching it I would be able to speak on it more. I would just say don't take WWE backstage as like a complete shoot, guys out there, if you didn't already know.
Yeah, so apparently it's an Achilles injury. So I think that is something that could be detrimental.
Yeah, I mean that's what Xavier Woods is out with, and that takes like almost a full year to recover from. That's what the timeline was for him. So yeah, that's a really bad one. But I didn't know, I couldn't remember because she was out previously as well. When she first came up to NXT, she had a few matches and then got injured. Then she came back and I want to say she did that. Was it the Women's Royal Rumble? And got injured there.
Yeah.
She's since going to the main roster, she's had some unfortunate luck, which really sucks because she was one of my favorite female performers.
Didn't she fuck up her elbow at the Royal Rumble? Because I know she had an elbow injury recently too.
Yes, I mean, she's just had some real unfortunate luck, man, and none of it's been like crazy, like just botched spots or anything. It doesn't seem like. It's just one of those unfortunate things. I hope to see her back in the ring. I hope that this is not a legitimate thing and they're working it into a big return for her. Because if the idea is you're just going to have Ember Moon retire on WWE backstage, that's insulting to the fans and to like her legacy in NXT. I mean, I feel like the right thing to do if she is actually retiring is to give her the provenance of coming to NXT and retiring in the ring and giving this speech. So hopefully, she's able to recover and come back. And this is part of a storyline. But like I said, I haven't seen it, so I don't know what the emotion or tone of it was.
Well, before we talk about The Undertaker, and like I said, I hope everything's okay with Ember Moon. One more little bit of news that's more NXT related, but kind of big because it involves a wrestler that was just let go of the company from being a road agent. Kurt Angle is going to referee the cage fight. Remember, this is only submissions and knockout, no pins, between Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle this Wednesday. And I have to say, I think that's fucking awesome. And if this is something where Angle maybe partially wanted out from being a road agent and being there full time and is like, hey, call me up, shoot me an idea, pay me. And that's basically the basis of it. Then that could be it. Maybe still part of it. And they furloughed. I know from what a lot of people have said, expect Drew Gulak to be back and expect Rockstar Spud to be back because of, that situation. But anyways, how do you feel about Kurt Angle being the referee for this match, giving it kind of a big fight feel, even more so.
I love the idea of you putting, amateur wrestler Kurt Angle with these two shoot style wrestlers in a cage and being the ref, being the guy that can try to contain them. I think that's a lot of fun. If this is just a one-time appearance, I'm completely okay with that as well. I thought I had saw recently that he was really upset about the way that he got furloughed. So I'm kind of surprised. I could be wrong. I need to look it up. But it seemed like he had done a podcast right after getting let go where he had said some not necessarily positive things about WWE. So I was a little bit surprised that he's back already.
And then Kurt Angle shows up the next week to wrestle on AEW.
That would be like the huge giant fuck you. I mean, I guess they're just paying him for a one-off appearance, right?
That's what I would think. I don't know.
Oh, is this some kind of shady shit where he's furloughed, so he's technically still under contract, and then they can just decide to... Is this another fucking loophole for Vince McMahon to hold people on their contracts?
Could be. I'm not going to put it past Vince.
I'm going to tweet that at Dave Meltzer and find out for everybody, because that is...
Well, if you want to ask, a question to Dave Meltzer, you can always ask right here. So.
Well, I mean, I haven't heard anyone talk about that, but the idea of they did two different things. They had actual firings or layoffs, and then they furloughed employees. And in theory, furloughed, you would still be under contract, I would think, but you're also an independent contractor, so I don't know how that shit shakes out. But I'm hoping that this isn't some kind of weird thing where they're going to start using that contract stipulation against people. And the only reason I'm even saying this is because they do so much other shady shit, like with attacking on injury time and the other crap that they do with contracts that just make me nervous that this is another sort of loophole now that it's on my mind.
Hey, I mean, it makes complete sense. I completely agree with you, and if that's the case, that's fucked up. But hopefully it's not the case, and at least we're getting Kurt Angle as a referee in this match. And I think this could get heads if they promote it enough, because they're making it like it's... I mean, look at the match they displayed last time. This is very much going to look like a shoot fight between Thatcher and Riddle, and you have Kurt Angle rolling around with it, with the potential for some type of interaction with one of them or something. I'm excited about it, but he better not be getting fucked over, is my main thing.
Yeah, and not just Kurt Angle, but any of the people that got furloughed. Like if you were a road agent or something, and that was a situation for you or any employee at WWE, that would really fucking suck.
Gerald Briscoe, I want you to do 10 laps around my house.
Now, yeah.
All right, Mr. McMahon.
I mean, hopefully that is not the case. It probably isn't. It just popped into my head. So it's something I will try to find out for the listeners in the future. But yeah, I'm hella excited to see fucking Kurt Angle in the ring with Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher. That should be fun. Any interaction with either of those guys. I mean, I would assume that it would have to be Timothy Thatcher where he crosses the line, just because Matt Riddle's the chill bro.
Yeah, I could see Kurt ripping him off for whatever reason, maybe thumbing to the eye or something like that. It's gonna be good.
I just wish they would have built it up a little bit more and maybe pushed if you thought you were going to do this, I would have probably pushed the Matt Riddle match out a little further. That way you could have had some interactions with Kurt and let the viewers know that was coming as like a big show feel type deal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Or, save this for in your house. But I guess no. I mean, it makes sense to try to get viewers on NXT and have reasons. So they've been doing pretty good main events and whatnot. So either way, let's move on. I want to talk about our last thing, and that is The Last Ride, the Undertaker documentary. They've gotten 2 parts. I believe it's 5 or 6 parts that took place back originally in 2017. before WrestleMania 33 with his match with Roman, in which The Undertaker originally was going to call it quits. And that was just going to document the ending. And they go over a lot of his career beforehand, basically all of the WrestleMania matches, him and Shawn, then him and Triple H, and then him and CM Punk, and him and Bray Wyatt, and him kind of in this time period doing less and less and, getting older and kind of losing faith even in himself. And this was a very human dive in to The Undertaker, a gimmick that has been protected for 30 years. You got to realize, and I don't think people really think about this, we talk about the eras of WWE. Who's the best in the rock and roll wrestling era? You'll say Hulk Hogan. Who's the best in the new generation? Someone might say Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels or whoever. Who's the best in the Attitude Era? Who's the best in the Ruthless Aggression Era? Who's the best in the PG era, the Reality Era? This era that we don't even have a name for. He's been a part of all of them. He started as a villain that broke Hulk Hogan's neck in '92 at the end of the rock and wrestling era, if you will, the golden age, if you will, the first one. And it was very primary in the new generation, along with Bret, Diesel, Shawn. Huge in the Attitude Era, American Badass in the Ruthless Aggression Era, came back as the Taker, and has been having these matches and has slowing down, but he's a big guy. He's extremely agile. And we haven't seen a lot of candid stuff with him. We know that he's married, he has 3 kids, but we don't really know that much information about anything. And just to hear it from other people about how good he is and how good of a leader he is in the back, and how, he was called Don Corleone by Mark Henry, the leader of the locker room. And this whole entire documentary is very insightful, and it's cool to see him now that he's getting a bit vulnerable and towards the end of his career, kind of showing us stuff. And I really, really like this. Just your general thoughts, Chris, on the documentary so far, and kind of seeing The Undertaker outside the gimmick of the dead man.
I actually liked it a lot. From the standpoint of this is kind of the first deep dive we've had on The Undertaker. He hasn't done a lot of podcasts. He hasn't done a lot of interviews over the years in general, outside of, I guess, the Stone Cold interview that he did for WWE recently. But they already knew this kind of was in the pipeline of coming out also. But even if you go back and watch television interviews or things from shows that he had done, he didn't really give much. Like, this is the deepest dive into The Undertaker, at least as a person, I think we've ever gotten. And for that, I really enjoyed it.
I think one of the coolest things that he admits, and we've kind of heard this, but it was confirmation from him, Chris, is that the streak itself no one really realized it. And with Taker, at first he was supposed to be a very slow, methodical monster that choked and did stuff, always got up, the Terminator, if you will. But, based on the fact that he was skilled for his size and able to jump to the outside and do these front flip clotheslines and whatnot, he became more caring, it seems. I think that his main care is to make sure that the matches themselves are good, that he gives back to the wrestling fans, that he makes sure that his opponent looks good. Those are things that he gives a shit about the most, and it's good to see someone that's so well respected within the industry that he's just a good guy, man. He's not in it. Like, I think that the reason why someone like him would be more well respected than, say, Hulk Hogan, who might be a bigger draw. Obviously, Taker's one of the biggest spectacles, kind of like an Andre more so, where it's just fighting him is the big deal, is because he does everything to talk to people, and tell them how he feels about a certain thing, wants people, younger members to come up to him and have a relationship, go over matches. And then you find out he's actually kind of vulnerable in the sense that he puts a lot of pressure on himself, especially towards the end of his career when he realizes that his body's breaking down. He even straight up says, I'll admit it. I can't do a full-time tour. I can't even do anything close to that. It's just not going to happen. And at this beginning part that we see him, he's in a lot of pain. He has a match at WrestleMania 33 with Roman. I thought it was a good match. I know that I don't think you had a problem with it. The two glaring bad things in it was when Taker tried to do the last ride and couldn't pick up Roman, and then couldn't give his body and throw it up for Roman to be able to get reversed into the tombstone. And that wasn't Roman's fault. And it kind of ends, for the first episode at least, with Roman very emotional about the whole entire thing, and Taker, okay with going out like that, and hadn't seen the footage back. But with the first episode, we just find out how bad his hip is, how he's walking around the whatchamacallit, the Hall of Fame, and even so many people out there, Sean, who was there and saw him, JBL, they all kind of said the same thing, like he was walking like he was hurt. And he was about to say fuck it and go out there and have a great match with Roman, and his age kind of got in the way, and we all said this. How did you like that tale and that story within the episode, the first part?
It was almost heartbreaking because we knew going in that Undertaker had been beat up for a while, going into that Roman match, but seeing the backstage footage of him walking around with that limp, I mean, it's incredible that the guy put on the performance that he did, and like you said, his care for the fans and for the people he's working with, and knowing that he's the Undertaker, that he's actually Mr. WrestleMania. Sorry, Sean. He's Undertaker.
He is. So
it was very enlightening to see that side of the Undertaker. We've always heard from wrestlers that he is the backstage leader. That great Cody story, which I don't know if we've posted that on the site, but I can repost it up, where he just seems to go out of his way to try to make other wrestlers look good. And as far as that match goes at WrestleMania, I didn't have a problem with it at all. I mean, there was two spots that 3 years earlier Taker could have done with no problem, but that's 5 Brock matches later. from where that Roman match was, essentially, if you really think about it. I mean, I was okay with Taker walking away right then and there, even at the time, and it was like, I liked the way they ended the match itself, with him putting the hat and the coat in the ring. If the Boneyard match is his last hurrah in WWE even now, I'm okay with that being the end, with him just kind of riding off on his chopper into the moonlight. It's kind of fitting of his character. I just appreciate everything the Undertaker has done. He has provided me with years and years and years and years of entertainment, and is, in my opinion, the best big man to ever step in the ring. As far as anyone over you're getting into the 6'6" range, I'd say Taker's by far the best. I don't know anyone that you could even make an argument against. But yeah, it was fun just to see some interactions with him and someone like The Miz, and them joking with each other. Seeing that side of Taker, it almost makes me wish they would have been able to get this out before Mania, and before AJ Styles started kind of attacking some of the personality or the personal stuff with Taker, because it would have made a bit more sense. But that's a small complaint. That just happens sometimes. Maybe the production wasn't ready. WWE is so damn good at these documentaries.
Yeah.
I putting these together. They're always so much fun to watch. From the Becky Lynch one, from the Kevin Owens doc they've done. They just do a really great job of packaging this together. And it's crazy to think about a TV crew just constantly being around, or a film crew just constantly being around Undertaker, when all of those years, I mean, even going, like I said, when he would do an interview overseas as champion or something, you see him basically no-selling everything. He never stopped being the Undertaker, and that's something that's very appreciated. I mean, he collapsed after the loss to Brock in the back, And Vince McMahon was so distraught, he left WrestleMania before the end, which is like never happened. To go to the hospital
Brock and him.
And that just shows how much he means to that company.
Yeah,
the
man.
Respect and how much he means to the WWE. So I've loved this documentary. It's definitely eye-opening. It was hard to watch at some point, knowing what all they actually still did in that fucking Roman match, where backstage the guy could barely walk, and then he came up from that entrance ramp, and I'm not gonna say looked fine, but he just went through. I mean, he must have been in incredible pain the entire time. But this is also the guy that wrestled Mick Foley in a Hell in a Cell with a broken foot. So,
and Mick says that, man. He's one of the toughest guys he knows. Like, there's no way. He's just built tough. And to hear that, like, that story, we got confirmed. We've all known, but to hear it directly from the man's lips. Undertaker, Brock Lesnar. Oh, by the way, new stuff that he revealed recently in an interview. The day of, Chris, they decided the streak would end. Or I should say Vince decided the streak would end. So that's one thing that's already crazy about that match with Brock. But actually to know that, and they kind of think they figured it out, I think, with that one part where Brock took his legs out from under him on the outside and his head smacked against the ground. That might have been where he lost memory because of the concussion that he got from that. But concussed throughout the whole entire match, does not remember anything. Like at 3 o'clock, he remembers a memory that him and his wife were doing beforehand, and then doesn't remember anything until like later on that night in the hospital. But yeah, completely concussed. Put on a, you know, for being in such a bad concussion, put on a good match. But you would think that he was selling throughout that. No, he was literally like didn't know what the hell was going on. And then to find out that Vince and Brock both immediately left to go to the hospital, and they were the first 2 people there when Michelle got there. The whole relationship with Vince McMahon, and how even asking Vince how what does the Undertaker mean to him and also WWE, and he started getting emotional and couldn't answer it, basically because of course, you know, Vince can't show any type of thing, but their father son like relationship and how much money they've made with each other basically, but when it comes down to it, like how much they care for each other. Very crazy seeing the Undertaker, someone that we represent in a positive light a lot of times, especially the locker room leader, the good guy trying to help out the next generation, you know, taking it or giving advice. And then Vince McMahon, who's like this closed, kind of arrogant type of personality. But when it comes to the 2 of them, their relationship, they love each other and they've helped each other out a lot. But it was weird to hear that Brock and Vince were the first 2 people at the hospital when Taker got there, and they left WrestleMania, especially Vince.
Yeah, and I mean, the WrestleMania they left is where Daniel Bryan won the title, so that was a huge deal of them finally putting that belt back like on Daniel Bryan. Like that was a massive buildup. You're talking like a 6 or 7 month build up for all that shit with Daniel Bryan. But that just shows the amount of respect that even that Vince has. And it's like, it's kind of the only, you don't get to see very human sides of Vince very often, and this was one of those sides where he actually came off as like, I do have feelings. I'm not necessarily always just the corporate machine. So yeah, this whole documentary was, or at least I should say the parts we've seen so far has been fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, love the scene where Triple H, where you go to Bray Wyatt, and I can't really speak for the match because I don't remember it, but Bray's like, of course I'm fucking nervous. I'm about to go against the Undertaker, and you know I have no idea how he feels. And you go to Undertaker, and he's nervous, and he's like, I always get nervous in WrestleMania, no matter what. And Triple H comes to him and says, "You're the fucking Undertaker, man. Like, go out there and do some stuff." Or, you know, that type of relationship that he has with Triple H, and also with Vince, when Vince was told him basically to stop feeling sorry for himself and fucking do something. And he's like, if anyone else said that, I would have punched him right in the face. But that's the relationship he has. They seem like a tight trio. Maybe you throw Sean in there too. But just just a brilliant guy, and Vince got him. Vince got him to come back. He saw the footage. He felt terrible about the match that he gave Roman. He was really hard on himself. I think Michelle made a lot of sense, though, saying that, like, I doubt Roman thinks it like that. They kind of shoot to to Roman and how he felt afterwards. He gets very emotional. He's kind of like, just with himself, realizing that he might have, beaten The Undertaker and retired him, which is huge. But when Taker kind of makes, an appearance at the Royal Rumble before he commits to going against John Cena, he makes it a point to come up to Roman and say, I'm sorry, I couldn't give you the match that I wish I could have given you. And Roman was like, no, like, he didn't feel like that, obviously. But in retrospect, when you look at it, I think this is a passing of the torch in a different way with him and Roman, because Roman now is the modeled person in the back that everyone respects, everyone goes for advice, and is now the locker room leader. So it's kind of, I guess, a bittersweet concept. But, he gives so much, man.
Yeah, and that's like a great moment in that documentary with him and Roman, and just like Roman's like, what the hell are you talking about? You let me beat you at WrestleMania. Like, who cares about the quality of the match? Like, that's kind of how it came off. He's like, you did me like the biggest favor of all. That was potentially your last match ever, and you put me over. So, like, who cares if it had like 2 little botches? I thought the match itself was not that bad. Honestly, Undertaker has had worse WrestleMania matches. Undertaker versus Big Boss Man. There's a good example of a worse WrestleMania match for Taker. So, like, if you go back across his entire legacy at WrestleMania, I mean, didn't he fight Giant Gonzalez at WrestleMania?
I believe so.
That was a way worse match, if that is the case. I mean, I don't have all his matches pulled up in front of me. I mean, it's just so crazy to hear that's the level of like love Undertaker has for the business and for the fans, and wanting to put on that performance and help put over, his fellow wrestlers.
Yeah. And so through the second episode, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Well, I think, like, even after that WrestleMania, one of the things that I said is, like, if Undertaker's done right now, like, he doesn't owe us shit. Like, that guy has given us.
You definitely said that.
So damn much, because people were like, is this the end of the Undertaker? We're upset about it. I'm like, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but, like, you have like 20 years or almost 30 years, right, of Taker. Like, what else do you want the guy to do for you? It's just, he's incredible, and one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, definitely in the top 10 list.
Yep. So the second episode basically focused on Taker getting hip surgery, feeling great afterwards, and kind of after seeing, at least in his own head, the results of WrestleMania 33 with him and Roman, wanting to go out on a better note than that. Vince has them come into his office to offer, basically Taker's there to be like, if you need someone and it's, a diehard thing, let me know. But Vince has other ideas, presents the concept of John Cena, makes them wait while he finishes his workout, which is a very Vince thing to do, because they got there on time, and sends a ring to Taker, and with the help of Primo Cologne and his wife and other trainers, starts getting ring ready, and is kind of putting off, Chris, when we get to WrestleMania from him and John Cena, because he said that he worked to get ready for a 45-minute match if they had to, and they basically got like 5 minutes with him and John Cena. And he's not – this is going to go into the next episode, but he's not really happy. Like, he feels like he has more in the tank now after the surgery, after getting in great shape and really training hard. So that's when we're going to see him go against DX with the Brothers of Destruction, and we know what happens from there. The preview, Triple H even goes, oh, my God, 5 minutes in, and it's a fucking shit show. And it's going to be one of those things that Michelle talks about, Chris, where Taker wants to end on a good note. He does a great match, then says, you know what, I got a little more in the tank, and then screws it up the next time and that keeps on happening. And we look at, this is 2018. We know that the match with DX does not end up good. And we know the match with him and Goldberg doesn't end up good. And then he has a tag match, obviously, with Roman and him. And then the last match with AJ. Also, him seeing AJ on the monitor and saying, that's one guy I wish I got to work with. That's a guy that reminds me of Sean that I really wish I got to work with. Good foreshadowing for something he didn't even realize. But basically, we know what's going to happen with this. And that's one of the fun things about this is that Michelle's right. He's going to do something good and then kind of shit happens, even if it's out of his control, like the Goldberg situation. I can't wait until we get to that part. How'd you like him getting ready for John Cena, working out with Primo, getting better at those certain gyms, him getting himself in the best shape, and then being kind of turned off that he gets 5 minutes with John Cena at WrestleMania?
But they did that so awesome. He destroyed John Cena. It was great.
I know. He's so hard on himself.
He really is. Like I said, he's had way worse WrestleMania matches. Like the John Cena one was pretty damn good. And me and you both going into it were not as worried as the Roman match, just because we knew the Roman match had to be a bigger deal. But I didn't think John Cena was beating the Undertaker headed into that match. Like I assumed it was going to be exactly what it was, just like all of the kind of matches he's done since then in Saudi and stuff. Outside of that the match that he tried to have with DX, and when Triple H says that's a clusterfuck, he tore his pectoral like clean off the bone, right? Like 2 minutes into the match. So it was basically Shawn versus Kane and the Undertaker. And Shawn hadn't wrestled in fucking God, I can't even. When would have been the last time? I guess that would have been the second Taker match, which at that point that's
8 years.
Yeah, that's a long ass time to go. I mean, I know Shawn's he still works. He's still working with it. He was still working with NXT and stuff at the time, so I'm sure that he was ready for the match. And even that match, I didn't think it was that bad considering one of the people involved in the match that would have been pivotal, because Shawn was supposed to be the babyface in peril in that match, and that is not what happened because Triple H unfortunately had just a really nasty injury. The Goldberg clusterfuck, I can't wait till they get to either, because I hope the answer is like Goldberg's a fucking idiot, and that's why that match sucked.
Oh Lord. Just some good stuff, man. But yeah, I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. We're going to be going over the future episodes. We'll go over episode 3 that will be airing tomorrow night on Sunday. At least we're recording on Saturday, like I said. And yeah, we'll give you guys our thoughts on it. And if you didn't hear our Thursday episode that we recorded that was released, I believe Friday, basically our last episode. We're going to be doing NXT and AEW and any non-WWE related wrestling news, and also like segments like we did the Owen Hart thing. With our first show of the week, our second show of the week that we do on the weekends, we'll be going over Raw, Smackdown, anything major WWE related stuff. So pay-per-views, same thing. Just to let you guys know for future stuff. Here's some information that's great. I haven't seen the interview, but apparently AJ Styles cut I don't know why the fuck this wasn't on SmackDown, unless they're not thinking about doing something, but it's in reference to the dead man, and he said that he has to redeem himself. No one gets buried alive and comes back like AJ Styles. I hope the Undertaker hears every word I'm saying. And that's all I've been thinking about. It's all anyone has talked about. So I wonder, are they setting up? I mean, honestly, their match was supposed to be, if that's not Undertaker's last match, the barroom match, whatever the fuck it's called, the segmented match, if that's not his last match, they were supposed to have an actual wrestling match. So is this what's going to make up for it? Are they going to put this on SummerSlam? In theory, if they are building up to that, Chris, I'm not saying they are. Or could this be building up possibly to Survivor Series, which would be the 30th anniversary of him in the company officially, where he premiered, and maybe his actual last match like he wanted to with AJ. In theory.
It's very damn possible. I've said this before with the Undertaker. Giving him an opponent, giving him the right opponent, I think will go a long way. And with AJ can do most of the selling, and Taker can use his brawling style, and you can probably get a pretty good match out of it. With the problem with some of the matches they've tried to do in the past, is they go for these big man matches, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do with what they want Taker to accomplish in the ring, such as like Goldberg, or to some extent the Roman Reigns match, which we talked about earlier. AJ and Taker, could they have a good match? I would say, yeah, you do it at Survivor Series. Is it just a Hell in a Cell match? What do you do after a Boneyard match?
Maybe you have them build this for SummerSlam. AJ gets the win by doing something nefarious, and then the last match is at Survivor Series in something like a Hell in a Cell. That could definitely be it. Last match for Taker, end of the feud. I guess Taker puts over AJ in that situation and rides off into the sunset.
Yeah, to me, I mean, if it's after seeing how good the Boneyard match went and kind of looked, and the reception to it for the most part, I would probably do some sort of brawl style stipulation match for sure. I just don't know what that entails. I mean, Hell in the Cell would give you a lot of openings of that. Yeah, that's intriguing. I like that they're still putting that out there, but it could just end up being like Taker is in the Rumble, and he has that moment with AJ Styles, and then that's kind of the end of it or whatever. Or AJ tosses him, and there's lots of things that they could do.
Because the thing with the Boneyard matches, we kind of said this. Unless he wants to have a retirement in ring, you know what I'm saying? And then once in a while at a WrestleMania, he'll sometimes do a Boneyard match. I don't have a problem with that either.
Yeah. But hey,
that's different.
If Taker wants to have one last match, they picked the correct opponent in AJ Styles as the guy to work with, I think.
You know why? Because I'm from fucking Gainesville, Georgia.
I mean, I don't know who else you could even think about slotting in there, honestly. That where you're going to get a high quality match. Like, I guess Daniel Bryan would be the only other guy, because Daniel Bryan gets good matches out of people like Bray Wyatt. So
yeah. Well, selfishly, I mean, part of me wants to see him and Alistair, but I don't think that's a possibility anymore, because I think we're looking at the tail end of his career. So AJ, DB, those make sense.
Yeah. Every time we say that about Undertaker, though, he just has like 10 more matches. So.
Oh God. Hey, honestly, he looks great with that new hip, especially in training and stuff like that. Or no, yeah, that new hip in training and everything. So if he's got it, like he said, and I think this is a good way to close out on, he wants to end when he wants to fucking end. It's not up to the fans. He loves them, but he's heard people say that he should end his career. You see a lot of his fellow wrestlers say the same thing. Like, does he know when he's going to end? Edge said it great. Shawn said it great. But it's up to Undertaker when he wants to fucking end his career.
Yeah, it's totally up to Undertaker. My standpoint on this has always been the fans are the ones that I tend to have more of a problem with when it's like, I don't want him to retire. I want another match. I was like, that's always been my thing, is like, dude, if Undertaker wants to retire, like, I don't like, fuck it, you let him. But as long as he feels good to go, wants to wrestle. I mean, they give us way worse matches than anything the Undertaker is going to do a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to get a Jinder Mahal match pretty soon. with like, I don't know.
With Undertaker?
No, just in general. You're gonna we're gonna end up seeing this on TV. There's gonna be a Jinder Mahal match with just someone random, and it's gonna be like the biggest clusterfuck of all time. And then you'll be like, oh, yeah, all of Taker's matches were better than that.
No, and I agree with you. But you know what? Speaking of the issue, while we wrap up this conversation, obviously, I had to admit, like I was watching a compilation of Seth Rollins matches, and it had his match with Jinder when he won the NXT title. Jinder was a fuckload more fluid. Like, did they just like make him just do boring shit, and he's just not that good? So it just the boring shit plus that's not that great because he had a pretty good match with Seth Rollins in NXT.
Well, he was a lot smaller size wise. That
Yeah.
probably has some to do with it. But also Seth Rollins is just really fucking good. He was really, really fucking good in NXT.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ah, Lord. Anyways, well, I guess this is the end of Wrestling Geeks Alliance. I think we've gone over pretty much everything that we need to go over. And I think this has been a pretty good episode. So if you guys have been listening out there, thank you so much. Come find me on Facebook. You can find me at Dane Alves. Message me on Twitter at DaneAlves42. And of course, get a hold of my good friend and co-host, Christopher Brother Ray Patton. Say goodbye to the good people. Good sir.
Yeah, sure. If you guys want to talk to me, you can hit me up at Chris R. Patton on Twitter and on Facebook, Christopher.R.Patton. And I hope everyone has a good weekend and get excited because we have a pay-per-view tonight.
Double or nothing. And we have our predictions if you guys want to listen to them on the last episode. But either way, can't wait for AEW tonight. Very, very excited. And thank you guys so much. You can listen to Wrestling Geeks Alliance on all audio platforms, all downloadable audio platforms, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, pretty much everything, YouTube. Just go to Wrestling Geeks Alliance, search that up, and you will find us. And thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful weekend, and let the wrestling vibes be with you.